Yo, what is going on, guys? You got Hiker Toad here, and we are back with NPL, and it is playoffs. So, like I said in the last video, if you did check that out at the end, I did sort of go over the playoff race and all of that. And round one, the quarterfinals, essentially, although the system does work a bit differently or whatever, because there's a championship game already with Techno and Turbo. That'll probably happen at some point soon, but yeah, round one, we are playing against John. We played against him week one, so it's actually kind of funny that this game is happening once again, especially since it's against John, since we've just played so many times and we really know each other as both builders and battlers. So yeah, definitely going to be a really good game for sure, I feel, just because of that fact. But I'm going to go over his team and because I usually do builders that are somewhat not that in depth, but I try and do it a bit while not taking too long. But I'm gonna definitely go more in depth than I usually do in this video. So definitely, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, stick around. Otherwise, skip it. I'm not gonna provide a timestamp because I already know I'm too lazy to do that. But yeah, so his team has changed a bit from last time. In week one, he had the Tornadus, Gallade, Metagross, Suicune, Diggersby. He had the Pelipper, he had the Kabutops, he had the Golduck. So the new Mons he has are the Kyurem, Ludicolo, Snorlax, and the Musharna. So I have the Mons sort of ranked here in terms of how likely I think they'll come. So I think that, and so I'm really going to talk about the Kyurem and Ludicolo mainly in terms of his new Mons, as I don't think that Musharna and Snorlax are that influential in this game, in my prep at least. And yeah, in this game in general, I really don't think they will be, unless I severely just underestimate them. So yeah, he has the Kyurem now, and that is the biggest thing because I honestly think that even though it's weird when he has a Mega Gallade and a Tornadus, but I think that Kyurem is the biggest threat to my team, and I think it's 100% coming. I think that if he doesn't bring the Kyurem, I think he might just flat out lose, depending on what I bring. So I think that it's definitely very useful for pressuring my bulk. And John knows that I like to bring a lot of bulk. I'm not the type of person to just bring hyper offense. And the problem is, even with that, even if I wasn't that type of player, his rain forces me to prep a certain way, because if I bring offense, I'll just lose to his rain. So I'm literally forced to bring a more balanced type of build to try and take on his rain and his bulkier threats and his breakers. So I have to be really careful with how I play and prep in this match. I really can't afford to make much mistakes, as that could just end up costing me the game. So yeah, Kyurem on my roster, everything. My only ice resist is Rotom, and Kyurem literally beats any Rotom set unless I trick it unless I trick it a choice item, if it's a subset. But even if I trick it and it's Specs, for example, he can just blow back my entire team with Specs. So I really need to be careful with Kyurem. I really need to scout out its set early on, which I should be able to do, as I think Rotom really blurs that thing out regardless of what my Rotom is, or regardless of what his Kyurem is. So I think that'd be really cool to lure him out with that. And so next up, I do have the Metagross. Now, Metagross is interesting because I don't think it's particularly amazing in this matchup. However, I think it's more so a necessity. Not because it's good, because he kind of needs it. Because a lot of his Metagross checks a lot of his team and it's the glue to his team. And without Metagross, he really just struggles to check a lot of Mons. For example, in this matchup, and he's brought it to every single game so far, the Metagross. So I think that really does show that he does need it and has been using it as a glue. But just for example, on my draft, it's his only Dragon resist. It's his only Flying resist. I don't count Kabutops as a Flying resist. It's his only normal resist. Well, like I said, I don't really count Kabutops as a resist anything, so I might ignore that a few times when I mention it. And it's also his only fairy resist, quite literally, So Comfy could actually do something here, but I'll go into that in a little bit. But yeah, I just think Metagross is very, very solid in checking those mons, and without Metagross, I think he's weaker to those mons as he doesn't have that initial counterplay. Like, I'd have to chip the Metagross down, but now without the Metagross, if he doesn't bring it, he won't have that initial counterplay to that. And I hit my computer, sorry about that. But yeah, next up, the Mega Gallade. So Mega Gallade's just Mega Gallade. I don't think Mega Gallade really has a bad matchup unless you're going against like Mono Psychic, which it's still pretty good. As looking at my team, he like my only response to it is the Yuxi and the Comfy. Yuxi can take some hits from it, and but then if he just weakens it, like Yuxi is my best switch into Gallade, so if I just switch it in and then he goes for like knockoff or like X Scissor, I automatically just like get put in range of like a +2 hit. So it's really just annoying at how good Gallade is. So I have to be very well prepared for that. And Comfy does like half with Draining Kiss on like max special attack. So the problem with that is because Zen does like at +2, I think Zen like has a chance to Oko if it doesn't Oko. So Comfy's very loose as a check to it defensively. And I think that I honestly might have better ways to check it offensively. So we'll have to see about that. In Tornadus, I think Tornadus is just really good. Tornadus is just so good. Like, it can knock off my leftovers on stuff like Rotom and Celesteela. I can just U-turn out. Like, it's very good at chipping down the Rotom, which, like, that's the problem with Tornadus, is that it's very good at chipping down its checks, and so in the late game it can easily just win, and its speed allows it to do that because as a cleaner, because I naturally don't have anything that outspeeds it, so I'd have to bring a Scarfer, and I think against a team like his, Scarfers are absolutely shit. Like, I don't think Scarfers are very good against him, and I'm just going to say it right now, I'm not planning on bringing any Scarfers. But yeah, I don't really... But yeah, I just think Tornadus is just really good, and he can even bring, like, Z Grass Knot, he can bring Z Heat Wave. I thought that he might have brought Z Grass Knot last time, but instead he opted for the U-turn knockoff route, I think. So this time he could definitely try and switch it up if he wanted to be a bit less predictable. But I will account for the Z Grass Knot once again. Even like Z Heat Wave could be a thing, but I'm not really sure if he'd want to do that, especially if he brings the rain. That's a bit counterproductive there. So yeah, I think those four are definitely coming. Like, obviously, I think maybe one of them could be like swapped out, maybe two, but I feel like that'd be stretching it a bit. I think those four are definitely very solid in this matchup. And so I'm going to go into the sort of middle category, which I think are mons that are all very, very viable in this matchup. I'm just not entirely sure which route he'll bring or he'll go, because I looked at his stats and his tendencies show that he hasn't really brought rain much. Like, if I was to go purely off his stats, I think that he'd bring Kyurem, Metagross, Glade, Torn, Suicune, and the Diggersby. But let me talk about Ludicolo. Ludicolo is just so good versus me. Water and grass in the rain is just so good versus me, as my main rain response is the Rotom. And so all he has to do is just, because it can beat it, he just spams Hydro and gets kills pretty much. So it's just very, very difficult. If I don't bring the Decidueye, which is my best response to it, I'll be likely to struggle against the Ludicolo. But then if I don't bring Decidueye, it's like literally pretty poor against like the rest of his team. Like, if you were to bring the Kyurem, Metagross, Glade, Torn, Suicune, Diggersby, it loses to Kyurem. It doesn't deal with Metagross that well. It loses to Glade because I wouldn't be able to have Cobra on it for knock. And I doubt that he'd ever bring Ice Punch. Tornadus just blows it back and can take hits from it. Suicune is like the one mon that I could deal with, as Diggersby can pressure it a lot as well with like knockoff or like Fire Punch if he isn't bringing the rain. So yeah, I think that Ludicolo is definitely like very, very solid in this matchup. It's just really scary. Just like thinking about it is very, very bad. Like, even like Max Spadef Steela takes like half from Hydro in the rain. Like, I think that's just from like a Life Orb Ludicolo as well. So yeah, that's not really fun. So yeah, next up, I'm gonna talk about the Suicune and Pelipper sort of, because they kind of intertwine with what they do. I think that obviously Suicune's better mon, but he needs Pelipper if he wants the rain. Otherwise, he'll bring like Rain Dance like Torn or Suicune, which I don't think he'd ever do. So Suicune is very annoying to my bulk, as it really punishes me for not bringing that many breakers. As something like Rest Talk is really annoying, like Sub Protect is really annoying if I don't get T spikes up, if I don't bring T spikes. And Suicune in general is just a really big threat, as I lack good ways to pressure it immediately. As my best way would actually be the Zangoose, which hits his team really hard and could put in a lot of work in this matchup. But like it can take hits from like Terrakion if he like protects on the Z move, that'd be really annoying. Charizard can break it, but I'd need to really pressure it with that. Like if he just gets free turns with the Suicune, then I'm just immediately put way on the back foot. So I really have to be careful around the Suicune. I think that's sort of why I'm leaning towards him not bringing Rain or him not bringing one of the top 4 Mons, because I think Suicune's just so good, but I don't think he can really afford to bring Suicune plus Rain. I don't think he's going to go full out Rain, but I'll explain that in a minute. So the Diggersby here, we have the Diggersby, and Diggersby is interesting. Like I think Diggersby's viable in every matchup, but I think that Diggersby isn't as good here. Although, like I said, it's viable in every matchup. It's such a good Scarfer and a Breaker. It does a lot of things good. But my natural team sort of forms like good not really resistances. Actually, yeah, resistances. Sorry about just wording that terribly, but basically, my Celesteela can take anything that's like a Wild Charge or a Fire Punch, and Terrakion can take anything that's not an Earthquake. I think actually, I don't know if it gets a fighting move. It might get Superpower, but he has no reason to ever run Superpower. And so, I think what Diggersby thrives off of is when teams have very poor normal or ground resists slash just not resistances. And I think that my team is very well equipped for normal and ground. I think my team is really good against normal compared to other teams, as I have the Celesteela, the Terrakion, the Decidueye, and the Persian, which with Fur Coat can really just tank those hits. And like Earthquake is just really bad against me, as I have the Celesteela, Rotom, Yuxi. Those three can just really take that, and the Decidueye can take an Earthquake to an extent depending on the set. So I really just don't. So I think that Diggersby could come, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't come. It's really not the greatest in this matchup. So yeah, I don't really think that. And so like I said, Pelipper and Suicune are kind of same, so I went over that. But gonna go on to the bottom row, and this is the row of Mons that I think that every Mon here could be viable, but I just think every Mon here is outclassed by something on the top 2 rows. Like, I think that these 2 rows are just his best Mons in this matchup, while these 4 are not as favorable. And I'm going to explain why. So Golduck, I think Golduck's pretty self-explanatory. I don't expect him to bring just full-out Rain. I feel like he's going to bring more of like semi-Rain, and I don't think Golduck has a place on semi-Rain in this matchup. I think that Ludicolo outclasses it in literally every aspect. Like, the one thing it has over Ludicolo is that it can run Z moves, but it still struggles to beat the Rotom down even with these Z moves. So I don't think that Golduck's really that good unless he brings like semi-Rain. So yeah, that's pretty simple. Kabutops, his other Rain Sweeper, I just think it's outclassed once again by the Ludicolo. I don't think he has enough slots to fit in all of his Rain Mons, or even 2 Rain Mons. I don't think he has the room to fill those Mons. Like I said, I really don't expect it unless he's like bringing semi-Rain. Maybe he could bring like a choice Scarf Kabutops like outside of Rain or something if he wanted like Spin, or maybe he just wanted like a good Charizard switch in, because he could like go hard Kabutops as I like try and set up with it, and then like if he's like expecting Swords Dance, I just go hard into the Kabutops and bring like Weak Armor or something that can maybe help that out even further. I'm not really sure, as I did actually see an outsider Rain Kabutops in one of my mocks, so it's definitely a possibility. So, and now we have the Musharna and the Snorlax Musharna. I'm gonna go over Musharna quickly. Basically, Musharna is a Terrakion check, and that's all it does. And it's also a very bad Terrakion check. There's really not much else to say about that. Basically, like, +2 Continental Crush, I'm pretty sure just blows that thing back, and literally the only thing it does is check Terrakion. So when you're bringing a Mon to check something and it doesn't even check that Mon, I don't think you should really bring that Mon. So I'm really not expecting the Busharner. I think it could like maybe you could try and find something that works with it, but I really don't think that it's worth pursuing. Maybe he can like just look at it a bit, but I don't think it's really worth something bringing in the end. So yeah, gonna go into the Snorlax. Snorlax is pretty weird in this matchup. It's a very good Spadef mon versus me. However, I don't think I really have many special attackers that really threaten him. Like, I think that all of my special attackers are checked by something in the top 2, so I think it's mainly just outclassed. And like I said, Rotom. Normal isn't really good against me as like I have the Celesteela, I have Terrakion, Persian, I have Decidueye. So really, I think that Snorlax will struggle to really do much as a sweeping set. And defensively, like I said, I think it's just completely outclassed by the Metagross. Metagross is really good at checking the Comfy. It can check the Comfy a lot better. It can, and while also being able to check the Zangoose and the Terrakion if it's like Fizdef. Well, like, the only thing that Snorlax really does is check the Comfy and the Celesteela, like I said, both of which the Metagross is capable of doing. So it'd be very interesting. I could obviously bring a offensive Celesteela, as he doesn't have any electric types anymore, and bring, like, Mono Flying or something, trying to capitalize on his not very good answers to it. But he might just expect me to bring defensive to help check his threats, which I think is very, would be smart, because I honestly didn't consider offensive Celesteela that much in this matchup. But yeah, like I said, I think Snorlax is just outclassed. So I expect to see a combination of these four plus either these two or these two. I'd be surprised if one of these came. I don't know if I'd be happy, but if one of these came, but like I think that my team's well equipped enough to deal with them. So I'm just gonna hop right into what my team actually is now. So I'll be right back with that. And we are back, and I was, as you can see, I was in the lab cooking up some heat, and yeah, I'm gonna go over the team a bit, but his team will now be on the screen as you do see. I did show it like for the first like however long the builder was, so you probably should know his team by now. But yeah, very scary roster, and I have to really go about this in a certain way. So I'm gonna kind of go over my thought process when building this team, as I sort of explained his mons and how, like, I didn't necessarily explain how I was planning on dealing with them because I wanted to keep that a bit of a secret. But basically, I considered I considered all my team at some point, but the main actually that's a lie. I never even considered Paloswan in this matchup. I think it was like Paloswan's just really bad in this matchup. But the main mons that I really considered were the 6 that you see here, followed by the Zangoose and the Comfy. Like the Decidueye, Zangoose, and the Comfy are the main 3 that I considered that I did not bring here. And I'll be honest, I was really close to bringing Zangoose for the first time in this game. Would have been flex if I did, but yeah, Zangoose is a really good mon against him, as his normal resist is the Metagross. Like I said, not counting Kabutops, and Facade into knockoff just destroys a max HP Metagross. You need to be like max HP, max Biz Def. And even so, if I just like Sword Stance on the switch in and go for the knockoff, he dies. And I don't think running Colbur would be worth it on Metagross, specifically for the Zangoose. Like it could be if he really valued Zangoose that much, but I honestly did underestimate his. I underestimated John's like sort of, I don't know if ability is the right word, but I really didn't think he'd expect Zangoose. Like I think it's like one of the biggest threats to his team, but I know that John has had the tendency to not prep for lower tier mons like that, and I know that people really think that I don't really get out of the box. I'm like in this box and I really get out of it. I really prep in a certain way, which most of the times I do end up with teams, but I do consider other things, and sometimes you see some flames right here that I'll explain in a bit. But yeah, Zangoose was really good against him. It was like I'd consider it the 7th mon of this matchup. I think it was really something that I was considering. Oh, also Charizard. I didn't even mention that. I think Charizard was pretty good here, but I think that Zangoose as a breaker was really better. and Dragon Dance Zard just gets revenge by his Rain Sweepers. So I think that, and his Aura's priority. So like if I brought Dragon Dance, then it's like he can just like go Pelipper and then like go into his Rain Mon and just immediately pressure me. Like maybe I'd get a kill, but then it wouldn't be able to sweep. So I'd bring like Swords Dance if I were to bring that. So yeah, Zangoose and Charizard were great breakers. I just think that I didn't have enough room for them on this team. Comfey, like I said earlier, I kind of preluded to it, but Comfey's just really not that good in this matchup. It just has a really weird matchup. Like his only resist is the Metagross. However, even with that said, Comfey is really weak, even with max special attack in the Pixie Plate. So Comfey's in this weird sort of zone where it's too weak to actually like put pressure on his team and his like threats, but it's also too frail to actually take really big hits from his really strong attackers like Specs, Kyurem, and the Ludicolo in the rain, for some specific examples is what I was thinking. So yeah, I really didn't like Comfey that much in Decidueye. Like I said, it's very risky to bring Decidueye, I think, because Decidueye is gonna be decided. Its usefulness is gonna be decided literally at team preview. It's either gonna be Ludicolo or Ludicolo's there, so it's useful, or it's only going to check the Suicune, like, and just probably be fodder at some point. So yeah, Decidueye is really just not worth it, I felt. And the reasoning actually for not bringing like Zangoose and Charizard, just gonna go into that a bit more, is because I did decide to bring T-Spikes once again. That's Thunderbolt, not T-Spikes, but yeah, I thought that T-Spikes were really valuable in this matchup, and I know that John doesn't really like to bring removal, so I thought that bring T-Spikes, although I did bring this exact set week 1, I think that it was fair to bring the set in all honesty over like another breaker, because I think T-Spikes really just wear him down even better than like something like Zangoose might be able to. Although I am subjecting myself a bit more to the Suicune, so if he brings that, that'll be a bit threatening because my breakers aren't the strongest, as I do have the best set that I have ever created. The best set in the game. You have Assault Vest Terrakion. So let me explain this a bit. So we have my spread as well. So I'm creeping a modest Kyurem, as I don't think that he's going to respect the Zangoose, and he doesn't have a reason to bring Timid Kyurem other than that Zangoose specifically. And so Kyurem just Ice Beams, just really, really threatening against my team. Like I said, I think that it's the biggest threat to my team, so I guess that creeping it could end up biting me in the back, since it is honestly the biggest threat. So if he does end up outspeeding me, if he does respect the Zangoose, that could be a bit troublesome, but I'm pretty confident that he is not going to creep the Zangoose. Just, I feel, kind of trying to read John here. And the extra Spadef is really good for taking like more hits from the Kyurem, as this is my main Kyurem answer, as the Assault Vest allows me to chew at least 3 Ice Beams, even with rocks up, I am pretty sure. And Terrakion can still hit his team relatively hard, and with the Toxic Spikes, Terrakion just hits him so hard, but like he just takes the close combat or Stone Edge plus a Toxic Spike round, so that's just really, really nice. I don't ever plan on getting up 2, so 1 Toxic Spike will be enough. And so I just have my dual stabs, and for my other moves I have Sacred Sword, which actually ignores target stat changes, which means that if he's Cursed Snorlax, that pretty much neuters it, and means that I can always revenge it with this. So instantly, like, I'm not really worried about the Snorlax. I already wasn't worried about the Snorlax, but I don't think that I really need to prep for it any further at this point, so just prepping for it more would be like making it completely useless. So yeah, Sacred Sword's really nice, and I actually specifically didn't bring it for that. I brought it for the Kyurem, as if he is sub Kyurem, I don't want to lose all of my close combat PP, and I also don't want to just go for the close combat and then hit him with like, and then hit me with like as a -1 with an Ice Beam, so that just do a lot more than I want it to. So I can get 100% accurate hit that just breaks the sub, while also not risking the Stone Edge and getting my defenses dropped. And then Quick Attack's just nice because priority is really good against him. Like with the Gallade, I can pick off pick off like a really weakened Gallade. I can pick off a weakened Ludicolo if it comes down to that, so I feel like we might as well just throw it on there. I've considered Aerial Ace to hit the Gallade harder, but I'm fine with just going for like a close combat or Stone Edge on an incoming Gallade switch in, so I don't really care about that. So yeah, that is my Terrakion. It's just really, really solid here. And next up, I do have my Celesteela, which is my Ludicolo response, quote unquote, has really doesn't check it all that well, but yeah, Celesteela just Heavy Slam, Air Slash, Leech Seed, and the Metal Sound, just max PF. Moveset's pretty self-explanatory. Heavy Slam hits the Kyurem, hits like just a really annoying form. Seeds is always nice as I can just get my health back for my Celesteela and switch-ins to his Mons. And I decided to go with the Air Slash and Metal Sound combination as, like I said, I was pretty weak to Suicune, so if I can Metal Sound that down, I can make Suicune less of an issue. And making Suicune less of an issue is very, very nice. Like, I don't think it, like, completely, like, really... Like, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it really does all that much. But it was sort of free move slots that I had. He doesn't have good flying answers. And the issue with Suicune is if he's, like, sub-CM, and he just gets that going, I really don't have a solid way to beat that if he is not poisoned with the Toxic Spike. So I really felt like I needed a sort of, at least a semi-response to it once he gets boosted enough. So then, because then once, if he's like minus like 2 or whatever, I can just go Rotom, I can like Volt Switch and go like Terrakion afterwards, after I like, or like something like that. Sort of, that's how I kind of played it out in my head. So yeah, Metal Sound's just annoying in general, it forces switches. So yeah, I really like that set as Rotom. I have my Rotom here. I have enough speed for the Diggersby as I wanted to respect it at least, and I felt like I only really needed, like I feel like Tornadus, like because I have Assault Vest Terrakion, it actually really does really good at checking the Tornadus as well. So I felt like I could afford to like go a bit like less bulky on the SpDef. And I think that this thing can still take the Kabutops. I have the Protect. I got this is the pretty much the same set I brought week 1, just with a different spread. Protect is really good for scouting the Z-Grass, not Tornadus. It's also really good for wasting the Z-Stone Edge from the Kabutops. So that's like that's the main things that Protect is for. Also gives me leftovers recovery, which is really nice. Although I will have to be careful because this is a free switch in for Kyurem. So I kind of want to try and Volt Switch as much as I can. Although I do want to keep hazards off the field, as that does pressure my Celesteela greatly. So I wanted to be careful with that. Yeah, but like I said, Rotom's pretty self-explanatory, just really good at checking and giving me momentum on his stuff like Tornadus and all that. So like I said, Nidoqueen, literally the same set, same spread. You could look at my week 1 video, this is the same set as week 1, same moves. They pretty much do what I need them to do. I don't need to hit Snorlax, I can just poison that with Toxic Spikes on it. Like I said, I don't care about Snorlax. So yeah, Nidoqueen's really good. This thing can take any one hit from the Kabutops, which is really nice. I want to be prepared for that. And also, it can take any hit that is not a Specs Hydro. I think I might be able to live Life Orb Hydro. I'm not entirely sure on that. It might be a roll. But I can live any hit from that. So I can actually check the Ludicolo to an extent as well, so that's really cool. So if I keep it at full, of course, but I do want to try and get those toxic spikes up as early as possible, so we'll see how that goes in the actual game. And I have Z Dark Persian. I needed something that can outspeed and revenge the Gallade afterwards, or at least Parting Shot and give me momentum. So I have the Taunt, Foul Play, Knockoff, and Parting Shot Taunt's just really good in general against him. Fizz Def is just really good. It helps check the Kabutops, helps check the Diggersby in particular. So I really like that. I'm just speed creeping the Mega Gallade, as I just have my moveset's pretty self-explanatory, and you know it's really annoying how he has literally no Dark Resist on his draft, yet Persian hits like so weak still. Like if I had like an actual strong Dark type, that'd actually be really cool. But alas. So yeah, Z Parting Shot's just really good. Can heal my Celesteela, my Terrakion, my Rotom, my Nidoqueen, and even my Uxie. So it's just really good at just healing up something. So I really have to play that right. But it's really good for healing stuff up. So I really like that there. Knocking off stuff is just knowing like specifically the Suicune, because then it won't get health back. So that's just really nice, because that like knocking it off is almost as good as getting Toxic Spikes up. So yeah, that's really solid there. So yeah, I'm just gonna go into my last mon. I wanted a Mega Gallade switch in, so I actually brought the Yuxi, and it actually has a nice tech with the light screen. I'm not holding the light clay, but it's just really nice as it kind of delays his Ludicolo or Kyurem from immediately putting in work. So I can just get up the light screen and then I can U-turn out into something that deals with it better. So I like don't have to like take as much damage on those like initial turns. So I can deal with it better that, which I really like. Rocks are just really good. Rocks can pressure him. My goal is to hazard stack him so I can really pressure him with the toxic spikes and rocks. And like I said, light screen, foul play specifically for the Gallade. It's really good against him, and U-turn's just good for momentum in general. My main fear would probably be like in terms of like the Yuxi. My main concerns with the set would be the Mega Gallade if he was a sub Will-O-Wisp set. I think like sub Willow with like bulk up slash Swords Dance and then Drain Punch could really put in a lot of work. It was something that actually a few people brought to me in mocks, and it's something that could put a lot of pressure on my team. So it's something that I really need to be very careful with. As yeah, if he brings that, that's props to him, as that's a pretty good set, but I'm not sure if he'd bring that. So yeah, that's pretty much all for this team builder. I've been recording for like so long, and like this video is not even like, it's like on time, quote unquote, but I already know that the other three people have already uploaded, so yeah, late game. But yeah, that's gonna be it for my builder. Once again, if you did sort of enjoy me like just spilling all of my juice on this matchup, then yeah, make sure you just like the video and all that. But we're gonna actually get with the part that matters, that is the battle. So we'll be right back with that. And we are here with the battle against John W, really good friend of mine. I don't know if I said this before, but make sure you go check out my man's. His link will be down below in the description. Been uploading some good videos for this season, and he's been doing pretty well, obviously, to make it to the quarterfinals. I think he got the 2nd seed in his conference. Didn't really mention that before because I didn't feel like it was worth mentioning, like in the build it and like mentioning like mons and all that. But yeah, John's definitely had a good season. So yeah, I definitely recommend you check him out. I know that he recorded a really long team builder, like way long, like double mine. So yeah, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, definitely I recommend you check that out. So yeah, I'm just gonna hop right into this as he brought the Ludicolo, Pelipper, Kyurem, Tornadus, Gallade, and the Snorlax. So instantly I'm kind of concerned. I'm also happy because he brought the Snorlax. I wasn't really worried about the Snorlax. I felt like Metagross was just way better in that slot, as it can, like I said, it checked the Comfey, Salasila, and the Zangoose. The Zangoose is something that Snorlax could not check, and I feel like he might have underprepped for Zangoose a bit just because he hasn't brought a single normal resist. However, his team does have, like overall, his team's pretty fast, so he might be planning to just pressure it that way instead of bring bulk. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind there. And yeah, oh yeah, Metagross can just like also get up rocks, and I don't think rocks are very good against this team in particular, which I brought. Although it still is really good at wearing down my team. And what rocks do is if he knows like how I really play, and he tries to bring rocks to sort of pressure me to defog them, he can go for rocks. I go Rotom and then just go cure him to take advantage as I go for the defog. So that's a very possible play on his part. So yeah, I'll have to be very careful around. So I would have had to be very careful, but I really don't anymore. But I'm just gonna look at this as I honestly just recommend you check the builder for my sets here, as I just have Spadef. I'll just go over it briefly, as I have the Spadef Seala, AV Terrakion, just like bulky like Defog, Protect, Volt Switch, Hydro, like Mixed Defense, Rotom, Pasho, Nidoqueen with T-Spikes. T-Spikes really important, and as you see, four of his mons are hit by the T-Spikes in this matchup. I have Z Parting Shot. Persian, which is really nice. It revenges the Gallade mainly, which is really cool, and Parting Shot's just good in general. And the Yuxi is a really good Gallade check, unless he's like sub Will-O-Wisp, which I mentioned at the end of the builder. So yeah, that's something that's very, very threatening. And I think that just in general, looking ahead what he has, Terrakion is absolutely amazing versus him, and he has literally no switch into it. Like, he quite literally just doesn't have a good answer to it, as his best response is the Glade. But if Glade wants to just keep on switching into like stone edges and close combats, I'm completely fine with that, because Glade's a really big threat. So I'm fine with it if he wants to subject it to that much damage, like especially like early on, that'd be really good. Because in general, because otherwise he doesn't have a good switch into it. So yeah, I can kind of expect that. So I'm just actually going to lead with my Terrakion, because it literally matches up well against everything that is not the Mega Glade. So I felt like it was really good, because I am Assault Vest Terrakion. If he wants to fire off a Bloom Doom here, expecting my Rotom, then I can easily chew that and just knock him out with a Stone Edge. Stone Edge is literally free here. He could maybe expect me to be like Sash here, or maybe like Scarf. I don't know if he'd expect Scarf, honestly. Like, I didn't really consider Scarf Terrakion. I didn't think it was that good this matchup, just because like it outspeeds like Scarf Diggersby and Scarf Kyurem, but Scarf Kyurem is terrible when you can bring Specs or like Sub, which is just way better in the matchup. And Scarf Diggersby is like not as hard to play around as like a different set, because he's forced to lock himself into a move which I have like different switch-ins to, depending on what he goes for, so I'm not really worried about that. And so, because I'm just gonna fire off the Stone Edge here, as even if he's like Z like Focus Blast, I think that I can like easily tank it, and nobody ever runs Z Superpower, and I actually don't even know if that'd kill. So yeah, I'm just gonna say in turn 1 is he's actually going to fire off the Z Bloom Doom. We're gonna take 59 from that, chew that right up, and he's just gonna drop to the Stone Edge here. As he goes into the Mega Glade, I'm gonna go into Yuxi. That's my initial response to it. As he reveals the bulk up, and he's actually just going to switch here. I go for the Foul Play, just seeing what he wanted to do in case he wanted to stay in. And I just take this as an opportunity to get up my light screen in case he wants to like U-turn out into his Ludicolo or the Kyurem, which he goes into the Kyurem. As he sets up the sub, so he does reveal to be the sub Pressure Stall Roost, most likely sub Roost Toxic Ice Beam Kyurem, as it's just really good against me overall. Like, my Ice Resist is Rotom, which can just get Toxic, and it's just fodder for my Kyurem, for his Kyurem, I mean. So yeah, not really concerned about that. Celesteela, it can use these few turns to chew some Ice Beams and just kind of try and wear this Kyurem down, as he does wear me down as well in the process. As he doesn't really lose much by going for sub again. He's just literally stalling my PP right now. So I'm just gonna spam Heavy Slam a bit, as he decides to go for the Roost here. Bit risky in case I was Toxic. I think Toxic was a viable bring here, but I guess Heavy Slamming again was because I guess maybe he expected me to just Heavy Slam again. Like, obviously the play worked, and I don't think it was a bad play by any means. It's just like a bit risky, because I think that, in all honesty, I think that because I didn't bring Toxic on this team, but I think that if like at any point this got Toxic, I think that he's just like, his chances of winning just go down like significantly. So yeah, definitely a bit risky on his part, but yeah, I'm just gonna spam some Heavy Slams. I want to see what he does as I pull the switch out into the Terrakion, as he actually does reveal the, he reveals these, well no, it doesn't reveal, he just goes for the sub. And I switch out here because I wasn't entirely sure if I could actually take a hit from it. Like, I was trying to see, like, I wasn't entirely sure if, like, I wanted to get Terrakion in while Kyurem didn't have a sub up, so I wouldn't take damage. But as he went for like sub on like the perfect turn for him. So yeah, I'm just gonna go back into Seela. He goes for Ice Beam. That does a lot now without the light screen. I can just go for Heavy Slam again. He's, like I said, just wasting on my light screen PP. As he goes for the sub again, gonna go for the Heavy Slam once more, as I think on this turn, it's either this turn, yeah, this turn I go back into the Terrakion, as I figured, you know what, I need to force this out. I need to do something. So, and last time he just went for the Roost, so I just go for the Sacred Sword here. Reveal that, but I don't really care about that, and I just go for the Close Combat here, as that just does a lot to the Mega Glade right there, as I didn't think he'd just risk his Pelipper at that point, as he goes for the Bulk Up once more. And I make a bit of an over prediction here, as he goes for the X Scissor, gets half off. I just go for the U-turn. I go into Persian. Now I'm just going to play a bit safe, and I think that I make a misplay here, as I do go for the foul play. I go for the Parting Shot, which I think was arguably a mistake at this point, as with the foul play damage, he's a bit bulky, and knowing that like rocks are very annoying to his team, he might want to just defog them away, and that's just what he does. So taunting would have been really good there, but he got me there. As I'm just gonna go for the seeds, which I really don't understand. Like I understand why I went for it, but I just gave him a free roost essentially. So I'm not playing this sequence of turns the best. I'm just gonna see seeds again as him switching out. It's just really obvious as he go as okay. This is probably the worst turn for me in the game. Like this series of turns was just really bad for me, but basically this turn is what I would describe as literally the definition of playing on autopilot, as Celesteela beats like any variant of Snorlax unless it's like Banded Wild Charge or something, then it like does a lot. But he was seeded, so even if like he was like maybe like wanted to fire off a hit, I could have taken that and then just gotten the leftovers plus seeds recovery. And Snorlax has a good amount of health, so I'd get a decent chunk back. So, and also Air Slash just covers everything because he doesn't have a good response to Air Slash, but instead he actually doubles into the Ludicolo, which punishes my just switching out into Terrakion or Persian really, really nicely, as he's just free to fire off a hit right now, as he goes for the Spect Surf, as that just does a lot. Right here I wanted to stall out the rain turn because I figured that Rotom can't do much to this, so I figured that he just might as well get rid of my Rotom right now and get rid of my sack. So because after this Surf, there's going to be one turn of rain left, so I can just Volt Switch on this turn and then revenge him with something faster with like Terrakion and like put a lot of pressure on him once more. So instead I just go for the Volt Switch. So yeah, I just go for the Volt Switch there. As I'm actually going to go for the Z Parting Shot now, as I really want Terrakion to get back and be healthier. So I go into my Terrakion as he goes for the Roost. Surprised that he didn't just like attack there, felt like he might have, since I might have taunted right there. Knockoff actually would have been really good as well, because then I could have gotten rid of his Ice Boosting move, as he was like Ice Boosting to... As earlier, he actually, I didn't even mention it, fuck. I didn't mention it, but he actually outspeeds me with a Kyurem. He outspeeds my Terrakion with his Kyurem, which is very, very bad for me, as otherwise as Kyurem's just a really big threat now, as he's wasting my Heavy Slam PP on the Celesteela. And the Terrakion is and Terrakion being undersped is very annoying, especially if he has the Toxic and manages to get that off on me. So yeah, I have to be really cautious of that now, which is definitely, as this Kyurem is definitely an issue, as yeah, like I said, knocking that off would have been cool, but like Ice Beam would have done a lot to the Persian, so I don't know if it was worth risking when Persian's health isn't the most important, but it could be later on, so I wasn't really sure. As I just go for the close combat right here, as he risks his Pelipper, which I think is a fair play on his part, honestly, because if he can just sack off his Pelipper, like if I Sonage there, he just sacked off the Pelipper, then what that does is he just brings in the Ludicolo immediately, and Celesteela cannot Oko it with anything, which is my best response to it. So if like he just wanted to like fire off Hydros, then that would have been really bad, and so I would have had to try and stall out the rain in some sort of fashion. So yeah, it's really good that he's actually gonna hard switch into it and get this Ludicolo low right here. So I'm just gonna sack off my Rotom right here as he goes for the Surf. I should have protected here to stall out a rain turn, but I figured that it wouldn't really matter, although it actually kind of does matter to an extent, because rain being gone would have been nice, but in like a few turns, but it doesn't really matter at this point. I'm gonna go for the Air Slash. Air Slash ends up being a roll, so that's not that fun, as I'm gonna go for the Air Slash once again, get the roll there. Well, actually no, that wasn't a roll at that point, but yeah. And he's gonna go for the sub, and he knows that he outspeeds me, and Toxic is just really free, and so he's just gonna Toxic my Terrakion, which is just terrible at this point, as now what he can do is he can sub-stall my Terrakion as well, because I'm just gonna take the Toxic damage, just gonna rack up. And he's gonna go Gallade on the Pelipper, and I'm going to get the crit right here. And what that does is, that means it dies, obviously, but that's just really bad for him, as Gallade would have lived that hit, and I would have been forced to reveal a quick attack on the following turn or sack something off. And what the quick attack does is, obviously it kills him on the next turn, but what that does is it means I take even more toxic damage. As you see on this turn, I take 19 from toxic, so on the next turn I'd probably take like 20 something, like mid 20s, and so this thing would be even lower, meaning it's even in range, even like further in range for the Kyurem, which outspeeds me, so that's just really problematic there. So yeah, really just really bad for him. As I'm just going to sack off my Uxie now, it's pretty much useless, so I'm fine with just sacking it off. As I can do that, and I can just go into the Nidoqueen, because I know Nidoqueen can live a Spec Surf, and honestly, I need to get off my Toxic Spikes at this point, so I'm going to go for my Toxic Spikes. He goes right into the Kyurem, so good play on him, avoiding the Toxic Spikes immediately. But yeah, I'm just going to go into my Celestial here, so just fires off the Ice Beam immediately as he goes for the sub now, as I go for the Heavy Slam. I think this is one of my last Heavy Slams. I might have like one Heavy Slam left, if even. Yeah, I think this is my last Heavy Slam here, as I decide to just go for it there. As now, I'm just going to fire off the Metal Sound, yeah, because I'm out of the Heavy Slams, and I can just force him to switch out right here and go for the switch. As he goes for the Ice Beam, I go for the Metal Sound. Oh, yeah, my bad. Okay, so I remember why I switched out right here. Right here, I'm expecting his Pelipper to come in to try and take advantage of the Celesteela to defog away the rocks. The Toxic Spikes, as if he defogs them away and I go Queen, he can just go right back into Kyurem and not get Toxic, so it's really, really annoying. So yeah, I think, so I just go into my Tracheon to punish that, but in case he's like Chop Throat for like some weird reason, I think that it's just in my best interest to go for the, go into my Persian as I take any hit from that. And so yeah, I can just do that. I'm going to taunt right here as I don't want him going for the defog. That's like the last thing I want. So yeah, he's going to get his Figgy Berry now, as he's going to try and para me with Body Slam, which he does not get, thankfully. As he goes for it again, and he does not get it, so that's really, really good on my part. Bit lucky, but not really much you can do. It's a 30% chance, but I'm just going to taunt once more, as he's just going to go ahead and go for Scald, knowing I literally cannot afford to get for him to have the Toxic Spikes go away. As I'm going to go into the Nidoqueen right here, go for Sludge Wave, and I'm going to crit him. And what that does is this pretty much eliminates any chance that he had at the game. He still has a chance if if he does get a bit lucky back, get some of his luck back, or if I just choke away the game. But what that did is that just, it's really unfortunate how that happens, because I don't think that crit necessarily like made it so I think I had a chance without the crit, but I think that what the crit really did is it just made it so it eliminated an option for him, so he's forced to play this a specific way. If he doesn't, then he just loses. So he only has one option compared to like 2 or maybe like 3 options now. So that's just really unfortunate how hacks can take away the interesting aspects of the game, as the end game was looking to be pretty good, as I did actually crit his Gallade earlier, as I did mention. So yeah, it's definitely unfortunate that that did happen like that. I accidentally hit pause right there. I'm good at YouTubes. But yeah, he's going to go for the Nidoqueen. I think that he's just going to go for the Hydro now, as that just takes out my Nidoqueen, and the Surf I can live. So I can just do that and go out into my Nidoqueen now, as if I go for the... As if he stays in and I go for the Sludge Wave, then I can just kill him with this. I can kill him with the Sludge Wave. I live that with ease, and then I can just win with my Terrakion versus the Pelipper. So he's going to take his best action to win this game, which is just sacking Pelipper and restarting the rain. As his Pelipper is going to die, and because of the Toxic Spikes, he's going to kill me with the Hydro here, and he's going to take that one more round of Toxic. He's going to be just out of range of one more, and I'm going to go for the Quick Attack, and we are going to win. I worded that poorly. He would have died to another round of Toxic, but I did not have enough turns for that. But yep, we are going to win in this game. Definitely not the cleanest game that I've had. Definitely unfortunate that I got lucky in the playoffs. Definitely not how I wanted to win this game, especially when I think that playoffs has been really clean for the most part. I mean, not play. Oh, let's not talk about how clean playoffs has been. I think the season has been pretty clean as like in general. I think like obviously there's always going to be hacks, but I think that it hasn't been the worst. At least for me, my games haven't been the most hacks inducing or hacks deciding. So yeah, it's definitely unfortunate that that happened there. And I'm just gonna spoil it because the other two already uploaded, but Jake and Zeden played. Jake ended up beating Zeden, so in the next round we will end up playing Zeden, not Zeden. We will play Jake in the semifinals of the NPL Season 5 playoffs, and then the winner of that game will play the loser of Techno and Turbo, which think I think you'll know that the result of Techno and Turbo before neither game has been played at this point, but I think their game will be live streamed, maybe. We'll have to see. They'll probably make an announcement or something, so leaks. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. This was like probably the longest video that I've ever made, and I've made like a 40-minute video before or whatever. But yeah, if you did enjoy this more in-depth sort of analysis, then make sure you drop a like and comment down below, and we'll be back next week with our next game. So peace.